T minus 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What you know about this life? Yeah. Just relax, baby, get high. Yeah, you're on your way to the best night ever. No top on it, no top. Out with the stars.
All right, what's up, everybody? Doing the week one recap. I know last year I set the bar incredibly high with my amazing recap, but I was too lazy and not creative enough to do anything like that this time. But maybe for week 8, because I do want the mystery prize. But let's go ahead and get started. So this is just an overview of the matchups on the week. I beat Finley. Jacob beat Andrew. That was a rematch, I believe, of the first game of last year when Andrew shockingly won. Bobby beat Cam pretty good, and then Michael absolutely thrashed T-Bay. So Finley forgot the season started on Thursday, which is why he played Mike Evans as opposed to basically any other player in his flex. Just to break down, Lamar didn't play great. Weird, but Jalen Hurts was awesome. My running backs, for the most part, were pretty disappointing. Love to see Jonathan Taylor getting those receptions, a lot of usage, but then that Titans just sucked in general. As for as for Finley, Russ was awesome. Aaron Rodgers was horrible, and then benched, got him negative points. Chubb was Chubb. I mean, he just is so consistently good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was pretty solid for him. And then, the rest of our starters, my receivers came through big time, combining for 44 points. Najee Harris, my number 1 overall pick, sucked. Kyle Pitts, my second round pick, sucked. As for Finley, Kelsey is just a fucking cheat code. And then that Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson pairing is going to be real nice for him as well. And there's Mike Evans with 3.9, sitting in his flex spot. As we look at the bench, like I said, he could have put any other player in that flex spot and he would have beat me. So don't forget, Thursday Night Football's a thing. As for me, Swift was awesome on the bench. Deebo Samuel was also awesome, with Brandon Ayuk doing who the fuck knows what. Deebo should be big for me. First matchup done. Andrew, I applaud your bravery. Jacob versus Andrew. Jacob won pretty good. He was the second highest scorer. Andrew, to be fair, your team put up a really good performance. For Jacob, Mahomes is just ridiculous. Darnold was average, but good enough for you. Ronald Jones sucked, but didn't hurt you too bad. Andrew, Stafford was really good. I think he will be very good. That was a good pick. Lawrence kind of flashed, but obviously the interceptions kind of hurt your overall point total, but I think he should be good, especially if he ever runs the ball a little bit. Eckler, it was bizarre. He didn't have a single target. It was only the 3rd time in his entire career he wasn't targeted. Also, it was only the 5th time in his career that he had over 15 carries, so a little good, a little bad with Eckler. Otherwise, just pretty average scoring. Amari Cooper was the top scoring receiver on the week, I believe. And then Darren Waller, fucking 19 targets is crazy. Andrew, you should feel pretty good with where your team's at. And I think Jacob, all things considered, with the Deshaun Watson situation and things like that, you got your stud players, and they'll be good for you. I think week in and week out, it's just about getting kind of the other guys to step up for you. So Bobby, your running back situation is a little bleak. You entered or left the draft with only 3 running backs. 2 of them are now out for the season, so good luck with that. You did manage to win. Cam's team underperformed and your team played well. Dak and his comeback from the injury was really solid. Josh Allen didn't even play that well. He still got the win. That's important. Dave Montgomery, he looked awesome. I think he was running back like 4 last year or something. So if he can keep that up, keep your running back room afloat, that would be huge. And Hopkins is a beast. As for Cam's team, Kamara they didn't need him to do a ton just because they destroyed Green Bay. But Mixon looked awesome. Those 2 running backs combined should be great. Devontae Adams suffered just because they got destroyed and Rodgers went out. Quarterback play was subpar. Tannehill, I don't know what the hell went on with the Titans, but I would expect better things from him moving forward. And then Burrow, as he comes back from the injury, should be getting better as well. Then Adam Thielen went off for Bobby. Kittle and Diggs were kind of not all that impressive. I think Cam, Mark Andrews, Allen Robinson, kind of a letdown there. As for the bench, Cam, welcome to the Josh Jacobs experience as the prior owner of Jacobs the last 2 years. Get ready for him to have a couple multiple touchdown games, usually when he's on your bench or when it's a game that's already out of hand for you or something along those lines. And then when you start him and you really need him to do well, he'll drop like a nice 5 or 6 points for you. So have fun with Jacobs throughout the rest of the year. As for the rest of the bench, not too much to note. Bobby got some good production from 2 rookie receivers. If they can be as productive as that would be huge. And then Cam as well got some decent production from some bench guys as well. It was a rough week for Thomas. In the Sleeper Weekly report, he was the underachieving team of the week. His 3 starting running backs of Zeke, Aaron Jones, and J-Rob combined for 14 points. He lost. He lost by a score of 171 to 99. He didn't even break triple digits. I thought as a league we decided there should be some kind of punishment for failing to break 100 because that really is just pathetic. But I can't remember what that is or if that was real or not. But anyways, Michael's team, high scoring on the week. They're just really solid all around. Great quarterback play. Christian McCaffrey's Christian McCaffrey. T-Bay had Kyler Murray go off, but otherwise Justin Herbert sucked. Zeke sucked. Aaron Jones sucked. Barkley also sucked for Michael coming back from the injury. Tyreek Hill went off. TJ Hawkinson had a huge game. He could be a big impact player for you moving forward. The rest of your team kind of sucked. Also, Thomas Keenan Allen was decent. Terry McLaurin, not that good. And then, we already talked about James Robinson and the rest of your running backs. Melvin Gordon was big on Michael's bench. Otherwise, just pretty standard scoring there. Tyson Williams, the undrafted free agent running back for Baltimore, looked good, but then weirdly they totally stopped using him in the second half. So don't know what that is about, but regardless of that, an embarrassing performance from your team, Thomas. All right, a couple interesting stats. The graph on the left is the usage or the snap percentage for all teams starting running backs. So I just wanted to point out a couple ones to be concerned. Excuse me. A couple teams to be concerned about. Nick Chubb only had 52% of his team's snaps. Kareem Hunt's going to be a vulture, I think, for most of the year. Aaron Jones only had 46% of his team's snaps. That is, I'd say, pretty concerning, especially considering he only had 2 targets as well. Because, they were down by a ton. He's a really good pass-catching back. You'd at least think he'd be involved in the passing game. Jonathan Taylor at 54%. That was a bit of a bummer as well. I despise Nyheim Hines with all my heart, and I think he's going to be really annoying. Josh Jacobs, only 51%. He was supposed to be hurt, so that's not too surprising. Saquon at 47%. He was going back from injury as well. That's not too surprising either. And then the last one is just Tyson Williams for Baltimore. Like I said, he was really good to start the game, and then they really went away from him. Used Latavius Murray. I just saw a sleeper report today that said Harbaugh said they want to use all their running backs, which I don't know why because he looked great, but if that's the case, then that 51% might be pretty accurate or generous. And then on the other side, we have the target share leaders for tight ends, so you can just see how insane Darren Waller was. Kyle Pitts, I got hope for you, buddy. And then that's the rest of them there. All right. And then one of the last things I wanted to do on this recap was just go over some power rankings, kind of my personal opinion based off where rosters stand and how everyone did week one. Obviously, big season, long season ahead, so a lot can change. But one thing I do like to do, and you can see on the right, look at Sleeper. They have points for, but they also have max points for, which is basically like how much you would have scored if you had set the best lineup possible, which is kind of more a testament to like overall team depth, I would say, and like just kind of the strength of the overall team. So I kind of looked at that factor. I also just want to point out, Michael, I don't know how you were so lucky about points against, but I swear every single season you've been last in points against. But you are number one on the power rankings. Really strong team all around. You have an elite receiver, elite running back, and quarterback in Hill, McCaffrey, and Brady. And then Saquon obviously is huge, assuming that he can get healthy and stay healthy. I'd say kind of the one concern with your roster is receiver depth isn't great. If Tyreek Hill went down with an injury or something, that would kind of be a pretty big hole in your roster. And I think TJ Hawkinson could be kind of a big X factor for you. You look at last year, Jacob and Finley were in the championship, and they had tight end 1 and tight end 2. Hawkinson looked awesome. The Lions receivers are horrible. So if he can, maintain any type of level of that performance, I think that would be huge. All right. Number 2 in the power rankings is yours truly. My reasoning behind that, I have 2 quarterbacks with some elite rushing upside. They might not be the best passers, but the amount of points that they kind of make up for with their rushing game is huge. I think that really helps kind of set a higher floor for them, where even if they have an off day passing, at least they're gonna give me like 5 or 6 points rushing. I have awesome running back depth and potential between Henry, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, even Mike Davis and Chase Edmonds. Those are 5 starting running backs. For the most part, they sucked week 1, but I still won, which is, that's a good feeling. And then I think kind of my make or break position is going to be Kyle Pitts at tight end, and then my receivers, especially Godwin and Cooper Kupp, were awesome. 2 years ago, they were, I think, both top 10 or top 5 receivers. Last year, they kind of dealt with injuries and some other stuff where they weren't as good. But if they can get back anywhere close to that level, I think that, that'd be huge for my team. Next up, I chose Finley. Reason being, he has 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks that are probably, like top 5 if they stay healthy and perform to the level that they can. And that's assuming that Rodgers figures out whatever the hell went on in week 1. Chubb is a really good running back and also a safe running back. He's super consistent, which is nice to have kind of a guaranteed floor for points. He has really a strong receiver group and also a lot of depth at that position. And then Travis Kelce is just a cheat code at tight end. I mean, it's just not really fair. And then I'd say the big swing player for you is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Your running back situation is probably your weakest. If he can thrive in that offense, then I think your team has a chance to make it back to the championship. Next up is Jacob. I was pretty surprised by your team's week 1 performance. But, I mean, you have the quarterback 1 in Mahomes. You have a top, 2 or 3 running back and Cook. And then you got, Justin Jefferson, a receiver, and then Darren Waller. I think he has a chance to be the tight end 1 this year based off how he went in week 1. I'd say depth is the biggest concern for you, particularly at running back. You had to start Ronald Jones. If Cook, he's had some injuries in the past. If he were to go down, I think that would be kind of devastating. And then the performance of your QB2 position is going to be big as well. You started Darnold, he was decent. You also have Lance. If either of those guys can continue to play at least serviceable, I think you're going to be in a pretty good place. Next up is T-Bay. Your team, I think, definitely underperformed based off kind of what will be the norm for it, but I think there are some concerns with your roster. You do have 2 great young quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, I think, could be MVP this year. I think Herbert, he wasn't great this week, but I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. You got good running backs, but I think there's some concern with their ages and their kind of team situations. The Dallas Cowboys offense is insane with their receivers. Their passing game's crazy. I think Dak threw it over 50 times. I'm a little worried that Zeke might get phased out a little bit, and he could just be washed. He did not look great. Aaron Jones, kind of something similar, where he's old. He's like 27. That's usually kind of the cliffs for running backs. It's a big concern with me for Derrick Henry this year. And then James Robinson, who, I don't know, it's kind of weird. He got, I think, outsnapped or almost outtouched by Carlos Hyde, and that offense just didn't look good. That team didn't look good in general. And then also some concerns at receiver. Keenan Allen is good. That Herbert sack's going to be nice. But outside of that, I think there's some question marks. Terry McLaurin, I think, is downgraded now because Fitz is out. So I think there's some concerns on the roster. Same goes for Bobby, who I have next in the power rankings. He has an amazing set of quarterbacks and then 2 really good receivers. I think overall depth is a concern. And then, obviously the big thing is the running back room. I think David Montgomery is pretty much a lock to be a top 10 running back, if not better. But he's your only healthy running back on the roster right now, which means you're going to have to spend $100 on Elijah Mitchell or possibly make a trade. Next up is Cam. Got a great running back tandem. Kamara's awesome. Adams is great as long as Rodgers is playing and not benched. You have really good receiver depth across the board. I think kind of your swing position is your quarterbacks. Tannehill and Burrow didn't play too great week 1, but I think there's a lot of potential there. So I think that's kind of going to be your swing position. Lastly is Andrew. You were pretty hard on your team in the draft recap. Honestly, I think your team is solid. You have good running backs, and you have good depth at running back, which is super important. You got a couple young stud receivers. The Titans offense was horrible, and A.J. Brown still managed to be pretty good and get a touchdown. So I think, the floor is pretty safe with those guys, and the ceiling is super high. I think Stafford was a great pick. I think he'll be a really good quarterback. I think the biggest concern at your team or for your team is the quarterback 2 position. You have 2 rookies right now. There could be some inconsistent performances there. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the risk for you. But yeah, I think everyone should feel all right with where they're at. Just as a reminder, World Cup last year, you didn't have to stress on a week-to-week basis. This year you do. Only 4 teams make the playoffs. Every win counts. I want your Sundays to be real stressful. Lastly, if it goes to it, is next week's matchups. I play Jacob. That should be an awesome game. And then Finley plays Andrew. We'll see how that goes. Thomas plays Cam. I think that should be a pretty close game as well. And then Bobby and Michael, that should be a good matchup too. 2 teams that have, the 4 teams that won last week are playing each other, and the 4 teams that lost are playing each other. So a lot of unbeaten streaks are gonna end this week. But yeah, should be good. Good luck to everyone except Jacob.